Hey everybody, today is Trash Day. Yay! You're probably wondering right now, what is Trash Day? Does it have to be Trash Day? Well, let me explain. I've been making videos about movies and junk for a while now, and when you do that for long enough, you amass a sea of little ideas that aren't really worth anything. Some ideas are too specific to draw any kind of audience, and some just aren't meaty enough for a full-blown video. So today, I'm going to take you through 5 of these little ideas, and hopefully that'll be a good time. Now, you might be worrying, will it always be Trash Day? Is this just the channel now? And the answer to that is no. In fact, part of the reason I'm doing this today is that my next video is a bit research intensive, so I wanted to give myself time for that. Anyhow, it's Trash Day. Let's take out some trash. The first thing I want to talk about is an interview that took place in 2010. The interview is a follow-up on the 15th season of The Bachelor. It centers on Jake Pavelka, the Bachelor, and Vienna Girardi, the woman he chose. If I had to give you a list of my top 10 favorite bits of media, this video might very well make the cut. And that's for 2 reasons. First, this conversation is chillingly vivid. After the season ended, Vienna and Jake's relationship went south fast. And their discussion here, if you want to call it that, is so dark and so dysfunctional that it reminds me more of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf than of The Bachelor. Look at the first moments of the interview. Vienna, clearly upset, talks about how awful things have been with Jake.
I did try in this relationship, and I stayed with him because I thought it would be different. And I loved him, and I wanted it to be different. And it never did. It kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
And then, out of nowhere, Jake pipes in with this.
3 times.
I'm so mad at you. I'm so disgusted with you.
Disgusted with me?
You
disgusted
sold,
that you...
You sold me out.
I find this scene genuinely terrifying. He's so mad, but he's mad in that calm way, where it seems like he could plan and execute a really violent murder.
Sorry, actually, I do have a job now. A marketing job.
I'm a pilot.
You haven't flown in over a year.
As a matter of fact, I flew this last weekend.
And this dynamic is there through the entire interview. Vienna just weeps about her life as Jake sits there and occasionally chimes in with a sort of high-groundy remark.
You know, he brought me to LA and stuck me in an apartment. I mean...
Chris, I just want to say something right here.
It's all too much. Not just for me, but for Vienna. She gets up and leaves toward the end.
Lord.
I'm done with this. You are the vainest person I've ever met in my life.
And, you know, I support that decision because this man is not well. Look at his eyes. He's a demon. And what's more, there's nothing about the conversation that feels forced or phoned in. It all just brims with a surreal honesty that I think represents the height of sensational reality TV. And that kind of brings me to the second thing I love about this interview. It forces us to see reality TV from a new perspective. Most of the time, when I watch Survivor or The Bachelor, I see it with a sense of critical detachment. I constantly remind myself that what's going on isn't real, that it's edited, and that the people on those shows are hamming it up for the camera.
I know Wes a lot better than she knows him, and he will break her heart.
And certainly, that's true to some extent. But for me, this interview reveals that understanding reality TV can't be as simple as, this is fake trash. The people here, Jake and Vienna both, make it absolutely clear that what happened on The Bachelor did sorta happen. They were together. They had a terrible relationship. Even as the show fictionalizes love and presents us with a skewed vision of courtship, there's still something sticky about what goes on here. Dark, weird consequences to their actions. And I don't know, I think that's kinda cool to think about. But, moving on, the next thing I want to talk about is The Crown, a Netflix show about the young Queen Elizabeth. Really though, I'm more interested in The Crown's title sequence than in anything else, because honestly, it blows my mind every time I see it. The sequence starts with a crown being formed in a sort of ambiguous space. The crown is shot mostly in extreme close-ups that emphasize its texture and the way it reacts to light. Here, the creators seem to be asking the question, what can an object say? What does this crown, sitting there alone in empty space, represent? And what's cool is that the entire show kinda hinges on that question. It constantly asks, what makes Elizabeth important? Is she an agent who wields power, or is she just a prop in the articulation of power? Is she a person, or is she just a product of the fun hat she wears?
Pull away the veil, and what are you left with? An ordinary young woman of modest ability and little imagination. And wrap her up like this, anoint her with oil, and hey presto, what do you have? A goddess.
And I know it might sound silly, but whenever I watch this sequence, I think, what force is making this crown, anyway? Does it come into existence through the relationship between a ruler and her subjects? Is it made by God? I mean, that's what Elizabeth's kooky grandma thinks.
Monarchy is God's sacred mission to grace and dignify the earth.
Or in some weird way, does this crown form itself? Does the object create its own authority? It's these sorts of weird questions that I love about this show, and I just think it's so rad that they're presented in the first 30 seconds of every episode. But we're not going to try to answer those questions here, cause then it wouldn't be Trash Day. No, let's move on. The next thing I'm going to talk about is The Office. Specifically, I'm going to talk about a Season 9 episode called The Farm. This episode was an attempt to make a spin-off series of The Office that centered on Dwight and his beet farm. I think there's a lot of reasons why this pilot didn't get turned into a show. None of the characters the episode introduced were particularly interesting, and besides, by this point, Dwight had become sort of a shell of his former great self. But if there's one scene in this episode that really doomed it to mediocrity, it's this one, where Dwight and his family play music together.
When we arise, sons and daughters, we'll make our homes on the water.
The song they're playing here bothers me. It's a 2009 song written by the Decemberists and called Sons and Daughters. And just on the surface level, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Dwight's not supposed to know about modern, gentle indie music. He's supposed to be a weirdo. And even if he did know the song, would the rest of his traditional Amish family also know it? Would this guy know it? No, he wouldn't. The thing is, I know why they're using the song here. They want it to be the theme song for Dwight's new spin-off show. But somehow that explanation just makes it so much worse. Because here, The Office is compromising a feeling of specificity and character development for a feeling of homogeneous sitcominess. The characters here don't have lives of their own. They don't have traditional songs they sing together. They're just kind of corporate stooges, echoing an executive who thought the Decemberists were a good fit or whatever. And I know, this is just over-the-top nitpicky, but let me try to explain to you where I'm coming from here. The Office just so happens to have my favorite uses of music in any show ever. The show doesn't use a lot of songs, but where it does, it's always really affecting. Look at this scene in the episode The Dundies.
You have won a tiny Dundee.
Sing it, Elton.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, where are you guys from?
Or this one in Email Surveillance.
Tender love is blind. It requires a dedication. All this love we feel needs no conversation. Divided together,
Or my personal favorite from Dinner Party.
So rock the ride all night, oh yeah.
These moments all share one major trait in common. They're motivated. They come from a place inside the characters, and they make us understand them a little better. But this scene in the farm doesn't do any of those things, and it's just kind of a bummer because of that. Honestly though, I'm not entirely sure why I'm talking about any of this. Like, hot take, The Office got worse. I should move on now. The next and final thing I'm going to talk about on this most holy trash day is one moment from the film Evan Almighty. I'll just play it. I have no words to describe what you're about to see.
It's time. Do the dance.
Care to join me?
So this scene might be the best thing that ever happened to me. I get that it's part of a movie and that this dance is probably a throwback to some earlier dance sequence or whatever, but I don't watch the other scenes in Evan Almighty. I watch this one, and I watch it over and over again. I'm gonna play it again, now, if you don't mind.
It's time. Do the dance.
Care to join me?
It is perfect, I know that, but I've never been able to fully explain to myself why I love it so much. Like, I know it's a joke, I know that this dance is supposed to be silly, so maybe when I laugh here, I'm laughing with the movie. But I don't know, man, I don't think that gives us the whole picture. There's just so many tones going on here at once. It's fun and ridiculous, but they play this intense, corny song under it, and then at the end, Steve Carell's like, "Oh no, God's gone. But wait, he's a dove. I'm happy again." You know, I don't want to ruin this scene for myself by pretending like I understand it. I see this mini video as a gift I give to you. An act of random kindness, if you will. Cherish this scene and love it as I do. That is all. Hey everybody, I'm Big Joel. You might be wondering, why have I decided to end this trash day with a few minutes of me being uncomfortable on camera with you? Well, the answer is that recently I hit 10,000 subscribers. What? Who? Me? But it's true. I did. And that's really cool, and I just wanted to say thank you so much. It's not just about the subscribers, though. You guys write some, really interesting and thoughtful comments, and whenever I read them, I'm like, oh god, no, I should have included that here, or didn't think of that one, stupid Big Joel. So I just wanted to say thanks. And also, I just recently started a Patreon account, so if you wanted to give me money, yes, please. Money? Thank you. That's awesome. If you want to. Okay, just wanted to say those things and, comment and subscribe and all that. Hope you enjoyed Trash Day. It was a lot of fun to make. Hopefully as much fun to watch. Okay, bye.